You know what's harder than throwing a football 60 yards downfield while 300-pound men try to flatten you into the turf? Apparently, balancing that with marriage to one of the world's most successful supermodels. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're talking about Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen, two people who had everything: the fairy tale romance, the impossible careers, the kind of wealth that makes lottery winners look modest. And yet, somewhere between the Super Bowl rings and the fashion runways, something shifted. This isn't a story about villains or victims. It's about two extraordinary people who built something remarkable together and then had to figure out what happened when their dreams started pointing in different directions. So grab something comfortable to drink, settle in, and let's talk about love at the highest altitude and what happens when even that isn't quite enough. The meeting. December 2006, New York City. A blind date arranged by a mutual friend. Now, when most of us go on blind dates, we're hoping the person looks somewhat like their photos and doesn't spend the entire evening talking about their ex. When you're Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen, the stakes are slightly different. You're both already famous, you're both already wealthy, you've both already dated other famous people. Tom had recently ended a relationship that produced a son, which he found out about just before meeting Gisele. Not exactly the smoothest timing in the world. Most people would have pumped the brakes on dating for a while, done some soul searching, maybe taken up pottery or something. But here's where the story gets interesting. Gisele later said that when she first saw Tom, something just clicked. She described it as knowing immediately that he was going to be significant in her life, which is either deeply romantic or slightly terrifying depending on your perspective on fate and destiny. Tom, for his part, was apparently equally smitten. Here's a guy who was already a 3-time Super Bowl champion at that point, who could probably have dated anyone on the planet, and he knew within months that he wanted to marry this woman. They got serious quickly. We're talking meet the parents within weeks serious, move in together within months serious, the kind of fast-forward relationship that makes your more cautious friends nervous but secretly jealous. And here's something people forget. Gisele didn't just accept Tom as a package deal with his past, she embraced it. His son from his previous relationship became part of their family. She spoke about him lovingly in interviews. She showed up to his games. She integrated this complicated situation into her life with what seemed like genuine grace. By 2009, they were married in a small ceremony in California. Then they did it again in Costa Rica, because apparently when you're that level of successful, you can just have multiple weddings in paradise locations and nobody bats an eye. The early years looked like something from a movie. Tom was cementing his legacy as one of the greatest quarterbacks in history. Gisele was dominating the modeling world and building a business empire that went far beyond just standing in front of cameras. They had 2 children together. They bought properties that required their own zip codes. From the outside, it was perfect. And maybe for a while, from the inside, it was too. The golden years. Let's talk about what their life actually looked like during the peak years, because it's the kind of existence that feels almost fictional. Tom was earning tens of millions per year playing football. Gisele, at her peak, was the highest paid model in the world, earning even more than her husband. Together, they built a combined fortune estimated at over $500 million. That's not comfortable retirement money. That's buy a small nation money. Their real estate portfolio alone could make you dizzy. A custom-built mansion in Los Angeles designed with a moat, yes, an actual moat, and every eco-friendly feature money could buy. Penthouses in New York City, a place in Costa Rica, properties in Montana, each one more stunning than the last. But here's what made them interesting. They weren't just rich people being rich. They both worked constantly. Tom was known for his almost obsessive dedication to football, his bizarre diet, his training regimen that would exhaust people half his age. Gisele was building businesses, doing environmental activism, raising kids, and still finding time to be one of the most hotly sought-after models on earth. They seemed to support each other's ambitions. Gisele would be on the sidelines at games, cheering louder than anyone. Tom would show up for her events, looking slightly out of place in the fashion world, but clearly proud. Their social media presence, when they bothered with it, showed family moments, birthday celebrations, adventures with the kids. It looked warm. It looked real. But if you paid close attention over the years, there were hints, small things. Gisele gave interviews where she mentioned feeling like she'd put her career on hold to support Tom's careers. She talked about being the one who handled more of the parenting duties, who rearranged her schedule around his games and training. She said these things without obvious resentment, but there was something there, a question maybe, a wondering about what her life might have looked like with different choices. Tom, for his part, just kept playing and playing and playing. Most quarterbacks retire in their mid to late 30s. Tom hit 40 and didn't slow down. He hit 43 and switched teams. He hit 45 and was still making game-winning throws that defied both physics and common sense. It was incredible to watch. It was also, if you were his wife, possibly exhausting. Because here's the thing about being married to someone with that level of competitive drive, it doesn't turn off. The same intensity that makes someone a champion in their field doesn't necessarily make them easy to be married to. The same obsessive focus that helps you win 7 Super Bowl championships might also mean you're not always present for dinner conversations or school pickups or the 1,000 small moments that make up a family's life. The cracks. Tom retired in February 2022. The announcement was heartfelt. He talked about his family, about wanting to give them the attention and time they deserved. Gisele posted a supportive message. His kids were presumably thrilled to have Dad around more. It lasted 40 days. 40 days, not even 2 months. Then Tom announced he was coming back for another season. Now, you have to understand what this moment represented. This wasn't just about football. This was about a decision that affected everyone in the family, where they'd live, how much they'd see each other, what their daily life would look like. And Tom chose football. Gisele, to her credit, didn't blast him publicly, but the interviews she gave afterward had a different tone. She talked about having concerns that weren't being heard. She mentioned having conversations where she'd expressed what she needed from their relationship. She described feeling like she couldn't continue to be the person who sacrificed everything while her partner pursued his dreams indefinitely. These weren't angry statements, they were sad ones. The kind of honest, measured words that hurt more than yelling ever could. Here's what's fascinating. Both of them were probably right from their own perspectives. Tom had every reason to believe he could still compete at the highest level, and he proved that he could. His body hadn't failed him, his mind was sharp, he loved the game. Why shouldn't he keep playing? But Gisele also had sacrificed her own career for years to support his. She'd been the primary parent, she'd rearranged cities multiple times for his team changes, she'd built her life around his schedule, and she was saying clearly and directly that she needed something different now. It's the kind of conflict that doesn't have a villain. It's just two people who want different things at the same time, and neither person is wrong for wanting what they want. By October 2022, the divorce was finalized. Quick and quiet as these things go at their level. No messy court battles in public, no leaked documents painting each other badly. Just a simple joint statement about growing apart and wishing each other well. Class acts, both of them, even in separation. So what happened next? Tom played one more season, then retired again in February 2023, for real this time. He's since moved into broadcasting, signed a massive deal to be a commentator, and seems to be figuring out what life looks like when you're not spending every Sunday getting hit by people who could bench press a motorcycle. He still sees his kids regularly. By all accounts, he and Gisele have managed to co-parent with respect and coordination. He's been spotted looking happy, traveling, spending time with his children, adjusting to this new phase. Gisele, meanwhile, has been living her own life with what looks like genuine contentment. She's been spending time in Costa Rica, doing her environmental work, focusing on her wellness projects. She's been seen smiling, laughing, looking genuinely at peace in a way that maybe she hadn't looked in those final married years. The point is, they both seem okay, not destroyed, not bitter, just two people who tried something that didn't work out and who are now figuring out their separate paths forward. Here's what strikes me about this whole story. It's not really about failure. It's about the complexity of success. Tom and Gisele succeeded at nearly everything they touched. They built careers that will be studied for decades. They raised kids who, by all accounts, are doing well. They accumulated wealth beyond most people's wildest dreams. They had love, real love, the kind that made them rearrange their entire lives to be together. And even with all of that, it wasn't enough to overcome the fundamental question that all relationships eventually face. Are we growing in the same direction? For a long time, they were, and then gradually they weren't. And recognizing that and having the courage to acknowledge it and move forward separately, that's not failure. That's actually a different kind of success. We like our love stories to have simple endings. They lived happily ever after. They were meant to be, forever and always. But real life is messier than that. Sometimes people are meant to be together for a season of their lives, not for all of them. Sometimes love is real and strong, and still not quite enough to bridge every gap. Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen gave each other years of partnership, children, memories, and support. They helped each other reach heights neither might have reached alone. And when it became clear that continuing together would require one or both of them to shrink their own dreams, they chose to part ways instead. That's not a tragedy. That's just life lived at the highest level with all its beautiful complications. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button, subscribe for more stories, and let me know in the comments what you think. Did they make the right choice? Could things have worked out differently? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time.